we also see that the total harmonic distortion, this distortion is brought about by the harmonics, right? If you come to this original waveform, right, if you had a pure sine wave and if you add these waveforms, what you get is this kind of distortion here. So this is quantified in terms of total harmonic distortion, and this total harmonic distortion can be measured here to be 48.34%. So if we can remove these harmonics, we will get a pure sine wave, which brings us to the point of filtering. So we can filter out these harmonics and we can get a pure sine wave. The problem is removing these lower order harmonics is difficult. You will need inductors and capacitors of large values to do so, right? So that is why the PWM technology is so well accepted by power electronics community. PWM technology is very simple. See, I am now trying to explain modulation. You have the same power circuit. You have not changed anything in the circuit itself, but you are trying to operate it in a different manner. So what I am doing here is, this is the original thing, original Amitabh Bachchan, and this is what the details that you know, kind of hair, the kind of glasses. So original Amitabh Bachchan was the sinusoidal waveform for us. So you are trying to imitate this sinusoidal waveform, and you are taking help of this triangular waveform, which is known as a carrier signal. You are comparing these two waveforms, and whenever your sinusoidal waveform is greater than this, you get 1, otherwise you get a 0. So this kind of signal I give to switch S1. Whenever there is a 1, the switch S1 gets on, and whenever there is a 0, this switch S1 gets off. And the S2 is complementary of S1. So whenever S1 is on, S2 will be off, and whenever S1 is off, S2 will be on. So this type of this is like waveform based depiction of what I have explained. So this blue colored waveform, this is the reference, a sinusoidal function. This gray colored waveform is known as a carrier signal. It is a high frequency triangular wave. So you see there are comparisons which are taking place, which are being done by the comparator, right? So for this time, which I have shown with dotted line, you see that the value of the reference, the sine wave, is less than the carrier. So what you get is a 0 signal. For this much amount of time, you see that the blue waveform, the reference, is greater than the carrier, the gray waveform. So you get 1. So this is a sequence of zeros and ones, and these are fed to the switch S1, which means that whenever there is a 1, the switch will be on, and whenever there is a 0, the switch will be off. The complementary of this signal is fed to the switch S2. So when you operate in this manner, you get this kind of waveform, which is basically an imitation of a sine wave. You see, the sine wave increases its magnitude, it goes to a peak, and then it decreases. Here we are doing so with the help of width. The width of this waveform is increasing, it is reaching to a peak, and then it is decreasing, and in the negative side again it increases and then it decreases. It's trying to imitate the sine waveform. But of course, this is a qualitative analysis. If you see the quantitative analysis, which means that if you see the harmonic profile of this PWM waveform, you see that the lower order harmonics are not there. So you will need a small filter to filter out this higher order harmonics. But if you compare you see, first we make comparison of the types of harmonics, right? In the square waveform, which was a poor imitation of a sine waveform, the harmonics were all lower order harmonics. It was difficult to remove them. But in the PWM waveform, you do not have lower order harmonics, you just have a higher order harmonic, and it can be easily removed with the help of a filter. But if you compare them in terms of what we call as total harmonic distortion, then the distortion was less square waveform, and this distortion is more in PWM waveform. Still, we prefer to use PWM waveform because the filter size. So most of the inverters, ranging from medium power to high power that you see, are PWM inverters. It gives you a better imitation of a sine wave, right? So this gives you the philosophy of power electronics. First point is, you are using a semiconductor device. It has got nothing to do with the voltage and current rating of that device. Same device can be put under the category of linear electronics if you're using it in its linear region. Same device can be put in the category of power electronics if you are using it as a switch, right? So this is the first point pertaining to the philosophy of power electronics. Now this gives you two advantages. One, you can manipulate the power. You can convert DC into AC just the way I have shown you. It gives you another advantage. You achieve very high efficiency because the power losses in a switch, ideally they are zero, right? The second point we discussed, modulation, the way you are operating a circuit, right, based on the switching states. And third point, we discussed about the analysis, which quantifies the waveforms, right? So Fourier analysis is one of the tools that you do. I'll take another example which relates to the role of passive components like inductors and capacitors. I have a problem like this. I have a voltage, DC voltage. This is fixed at 12 volts, right? So this is the source. This source needs to feed a load, but the desired voltage there is 8 volts. So there is a clear mismatch between the source voltage and the load voltage. So we are required to do something here. We can obtain a voltage of 8 volts from a 12-volt source. The straightaway solution is to use a resistance of 5 ohms. This resistance is known, let us say this is known to be 10 ohms. If you use a resistance of 5 ohms here, then there will be a voltage drop across it, right? There will be a voltage drop of 4 volts here. And from this 12 volts, you will get a voltage of 8 volts. But the problem is that this current which is flowing through this resistance, it will cause a power loss of 3.2 watts, which is significant in this case. So to solve this kind of problem, we can again take the help of a switch. So what I've done here is, I'm not using any resistance here. Now I'm using a switch here, right? So again, here there are two possibilities. One possibility is when you turn this switch on, the power loss here ideally is zero. The voltage across the load is 12 volts. When you turn this switch off, the current is 0 amperes, power loss is zero. And because the current is zero here, this is resistance. So the potential difference across this resistance will be zero. The voltage across the load will be 0 volt. So if you properly time these switching on and switching off actions, for example, if I switch it on for a time equal to t, and if I do this for a time equal to t by 2, this is not the period, this is just a time that I'm taking. So you get a waveform like this, right? So for a time duration, let us call it t naught. For a time duration equal to t naught, the switch is on, which means that the voltage across the load is 12 volts. And for a duration equal to t naught by 2, the switch is off, which means that the voltage across the load is 0. And you do it periodically. So now it is a periodic waveform, and you can find out the average of this waveform, right? I find the average, basically the area of this triangle as the area of this rectangle divided by this time, and that average value, if you see, it comes out to be 8 volts, right, which is shown here with this dotted line. So what you're doing with the help of this switch is you are converting a fixed voltage of 12 volts to a voltage equal to 8 volts average value, right? The peak value will remain, of course, 12 volts, but the average value will be 8 volts. The advantage with this kind of approach will be that the power losses will be zero. But there will be a disadvantage also. The disadvantage is the fluctuation in this voltage. It is going from 12 volts to 0 volts. So to remove this is the basic, actually simple circuit for decreasing the average value of the voltage which is obtained at the load. Now, to overcome these fluctuations, we know the solution. We just need to put a capacitor here. So this voltage, it will get it was going to 0. If you put a capacitor there, it will not go down to 0. The fluctuations will be removed, right? So one simple solution to remove the fluctuations is to place this capacitor here. The problem with this capacitor is that when you switch on this switch for the first time, see, the voltage of the capacitor was 0 for the first time. When you switch it on, the capacitor will act like a short circuit. We know this from the transient analysis. This capacitor will act like a short circuit. So there will be a dead short across the source, and huge amount of current will flow through this switch, and this switch will be burnt off. So we need to find a solution so that this current is not that high. So solution is simple. You put an inductor here, right? So if you put an inductor here, then what happens is in the beginning, when you switch it on, the inductor acts like an open circuit, the capacitor acts like a short circuit, but the current cannot flow. The huge current cannot flow here. It will gradually build up, and that will protect this switch. But the problem with this inductor is that when you switch it off, this switch, when a current is flowing, then the inductor will react by generating a voltage. We know the expression that voltage is equal to L di by dt. So some current was flowing through this inductor, and suddenly if you switch off this switch S, then this current will be zero. So the inductor, what it will do, it will generate a huge amount of voltage. That voltage will appear across the source, the switch, and again there will be a breakdown in the switch, right? So here the switching on was a problem, and here a switching off is a problem. So to counter this problem, the solution is simple, right? When you switch it off, basically you are trying to obstruct the path of current which is flowing through the diode, this inductor. Solution is very simple. You put a diode here. So this is the solution. Now you will not have any problem either from the capacitor or the inductor. So this circuit can easily convert that original voltage, which was 12 volt, to a voltage 8 volts. And this circuit is known as the buck converter, right? The very popular buck converter. So this is how we are like obtaining that circuit from this very simple circuit, which consisted of a voltage source, a switch, and the load, right? So this is the role which is played by passive components. They regulate the flow of power when the source is disconnected from the load. The power to the load is being fed by the passive component. Of course, there are other ways that they will help in different types of applications, right? Mostly they are used as the buffers. So whatever we have discussed till now, you can see the kinds of skills and capabilities required for you as a power electronics engineer. So power electronics engineer should be able to model the power circuit and analyze it the way we did it for the inverter and the buck converter. He or she should be well aware of the modulation and control, proper command over the tools and the hardware which can be used, be it a DSP or microcontroller or the research level tools like DSpace. He or she should have proper command over those. Third one is, of course, the mathematical tools, the waveform analysis. You should be able to quantify the output of your converter in terms of proper parameters, and you should be able to fine tune those parameters to obtain your control objectives, to achieve the control objective. And finally, what I have not discussed here is the thermal analysis, because in the real life cases, when a switch is performing on and off operations, there will be losses in those switches, and the losses will heat up the switch, and you need to get rid of heat by placing proper heat sinks. And before you make the hardware, actually you should be able to do a thermal analysis in order to properly design the hardware. So these are the 4 most important tools for a power electronics engineer. So just like I demonstrated the conversion from DC to AC and DC to DC, you have other possible conversion, AC to AC and AC to DC, and these are being used in almost all kinds of electronic things that you are seeing around you, right? So the popular software packages which will help you to see the whether you are able to achieve the objectives by the converter designed by you. These are the 2 very popular softwares. One is MATLAB Simulink, and the other one is a Plex. So for a system level design, Simulink is a very powerful tool, and for thermal analysis and related issues, Plex is a very powerful tool for that. Of course, there are some other tools. I'll show like how for jobs, companies are demanding these kinds of tools from a power electronics engineer. In terms of applications, like I said, applications are huge in all around you, you can see a number of applications, but I like to see those things in terms of power system. So in power system, basically we are dealing with power generation, transmission, distribution, and utilization. So in all these four aspects, you can see the application of power electronics. Basically, power electronics has changed the face of electrical engineering, right, in the last 2 or 3 decades. So in power generation, you see integration of photovoltaic power generation or the wind power to the grid. It is all based on power electronics. In transmission, like we are using now static compensator in transmission lines. Even the transmission we are able to do in DC format with the help of HVDC transmission, and that is also again based on power electronics. When we talk about flexible AC transmission systems, they are all FACTS devices, right? In distribution, the statcom and the microgrids and distributed sources, whatever you are like hearing about rooftop based PV power generation, all those are based on power electronics. Utilization, of course, it is unlimited, like use of power electronics. All the appliances that you're seeing, right from a small fan regulator to your washing machines and printers, everything is has a lot of power electronics inside it. We are talking about electric vehicles. Power electronics again is the backbone of electric vehicles. All the smart systems, like they are hugely dependent on power electronics. As I said, smart systems basically are based on sensors, computers which provide the brains, and power electronics which provides the muscles for those brains. So to describe the kind of career opportunities, I have taken some examples. This is a screenshot that I have taken from the website of GE. So this is an opportunity, like they are calling for a lead engineer in power electronics. I just want to focus on the kind of skills that they're expecting from you, right? So if you see, like first and foremost is like principles of operation, key power electronic components and datasheet analysis. Software skills, they're talking about MATLAB, Simulink, Plex, or Sabre, right? So these are the basic skills that are required for this kind of job. Or I have taken another example. I have taken this screenshot from Glassdoor, and this is a call from Mercedes Benz. Again, like electric vehicles, they are in fact the regular cars also nowadays, they are heavily based on power electronics. So let us see the kind of skills that they want. The first and foremost here is, before like types of converters, they are talking about experience in mathematical modeling. And again, like they are talking about the types of software skills, they are talking about MATLAB, Simulink, and they're also talking about communication protocols, for example, in a CAN bus system. So an electric vehicle is a perfect example where all kinds of branches, they intermingle, and the application of power electronics, which shows like how communication and computer science, they are heavily involved. So if you just browse through number of such opportunities, you will find that there are a number of companies like which are uh, which are doing exclusively, they are doing power electronics based products, right? And even the conventional approach, which many companies, they had a very conventional approach towards traction, all kinds of traction, be it normal like ICE engine based vehicles or railway traction. So they are all now have changed completely. If you compare our regular locomotives with the kind of traction that we use in Delhi metro, there is a lot of difference, and that difference is created by power electric. So number of opportunities are like evolving, and of course in terms of startups, like our local the MSMEs, they need a lot of technologies like which are developed in the engineering fraternity. They require those technologies to cater to the needs of our society, like in terms of power electronics. So the opportunities are huge.